dash and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Young Closer Podcast. It's your host, Jacob Hagerman. Guys, obviously you know the drill. Make sure you shoot me a follow on Instagram at The Real Young Closer. Guys, we got a nice little special guest.
Let's go.
This guy right here is an absolute killer. But number one, I want to give a little bit of a preliminary introduction. Kevin here, he works in the hotel and hospitality space. He's a part of Andy's Brotherhood, which is a $50,000 buy-in to be able to have that type of mentorship with Andy and the group and everybody that's allowed. So, number one, like the highest levels of players that the Elliott Group is involved with are guys like Kevin. And so, Kevin, here's what I want you to do. Give a quick little introduction where they can find you on Instagram, and then we're going to get rolling into the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jacob. I'm Kevin Reardon on Instagram at Kevin Reardon. And look, if you're listening to this podcast episode right now, please be intentional about listening to this, right? Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, write down what we're talking about, because we're about to drop some really good stuff onto you right now, right? And we're going to talk about how I went from nothing to having a multi-million-dollar hotel business. All right, we're going to talk about marketing, we're talk about real estate, all the good stuff. So if you want to get some of that knowledge right now, be real intentional about listening to this. That's what it's all about, setting an intention. We're at the beginning of the year right now. That's what I did, set an intention for the year, right? What do I want to get out of each and every day, out of this podcast, out of what I'm doing, what I'm getting out of the entire year. So I'm in the hotel industry. I started in the hotel industry 6 years ago. I started in real estate almost 20 years ago now. I started with nothing. I knew no rich people. I didn't know anything, right? And the way that I got into it is I found people that I wanted to follow, and I followed in their footsteps.
So I'm going to hold you off right there.
Yeah.
Number one, here's what I want to talk about. What was young Kevin like? I'm talking like high school, college age young Kevin.
So in the entrepreneurship community, we always talk about, are entrepreneurs created? Are they bored, right? And for me, my parents had the entrepreneurship DNA. My dad has always been into having his own little side hustles and things. And so all throughout my childhood, I hustled as a kid. All right, so when I was born, my dad bought a car wash. So this is the late 1980s. And when I was a kid, I was out. My first job was to pass out flyers at a car wash. I did that from 8 years old to 15 years old.
No kidding.
So I was out hustling, trying to make sales when I was young, just to support our family business. And I did it because I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool. You know, I'd write my initial. I'd go through the night before, back when I was 10 years old, I'd write my initials on 1,000 postcards, and I put them on cars. And I do that for 2 hours, starting at 5, 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And at the end of the day, I count them up, see how many came back. That was my beginning. That's when I was a kid. That was young Kevin. All right. But then as I went on, I started my own business. All right. I was a DJ.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Wait, you're a DJ?
I was a DJ.
For like weddings and stuff?
In fact, my buddy who did the business with me, we just caught up for lunch the other day. He drove in from California, and we started at 12 years old. We started that business at 12 years old. Did I know what I was doing at 12 years old? You know, people get caught up in, how do I start an LLC? How do I hire employees? How do I do this? I didn't know crap when I was 12 years old. But Scott, my partner, and I, we started at 12 years old. We were DJs. By the time we were 16 years old, we were both making $100 an hour as DJs, doing weddings. We had a weekly nightclub gig.
Dude,
we're 16 years old.
That's life-changing money.
Oh, it was incredible. Both Scott and I bought our dream sports cars when we were 17.
Which was?
For me, it was a Mustang convertible.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Boys are boys?
I still have it. No kidding. Yeah, it's, 18 years or something later. I still have it.
Dude, that's freaking sick. Okay, so DJing, and, like, for that, like, what brought that about? Because I like to know the story. Not a lot of people drop the wisdom bombs. They drop, hey, listen, like, this is how I grew my business. This is the marketing. This is this. But really, like, we don't talk about where you came from. Because some people, like, I came from being poor. Like, when you were 12 years old, you're starting up a DJ business. When I was 12 years old, I was going through some of the worst times of my life. Like,
right.
That was when my pops was killed and everything like that. And so, like, everybody has a different upbringing, which brings them to who they are today. And so, like, I like learning about, like, how you at 12 years old was like, you know what? Let's become DJs.
Yeah, I knew what I loved, right? I knew what I was passionate about. I don't know about you, but a lot of entrepreneurs this way. I'm like super ADHD, which is something I've had to deal with for my entire life. And when I get focused on something, when I'm passionate about something, I just want to go all in on that, and I want to be the best at it because that's just how my mind works. And so when I was younger, I was into two things. One, I love music. I loved everything about just how you curate a playlist, how you play it for people, how it makes them feel. And two, I like touching people, right? Not like physically touching people, but like touching their souls, touching their hearts, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you do as a disc jockey. Like we're playing some of the most important events. We played tons of weddings, playing dances, played all the things, birthdays, anniversaries.
You either set the mood or you break it.
Right. And so we got to just be in front of and be a part of special occasions for thousands of people. And to me, that was fulfilling on a business front. And so I just wanted to, you could have paid me nothing. I still would have loved doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's been a theme through developing my business career is like just finding things that I'm passionate about that, I would do no matter what because they're things that fill me up. And the business thing just follows along. Like when you find something that you want to do for other people and you're willing to pour out everything you've got into that for other people, the business will find you, right?
100%. I mean, that's been pretty much what I've preached on with everything in the podcast, on my Instagram, and everything is, it's not, how you're going to do it. It's who you have to become to then attract the people that you want to be around, have that right environment. I was in the middle of making a Facebook post, which I'll finish when we get done with the podcast, but it's all about your environment. If you're surrounded, like I guarantee you, you look back on those moments with your boy Scott and you go, dude, like I'm glad that I had somebody like that instead of somebody who was like pulling and dragging you down, like, oh, that's dumb. Really, you're gonna be a DJ?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're really gonna work at the car wash? Okay. And obviously, that's led you to an abundance of success at the age that you are now, which is
I'm 30, turned 36 this week.
You turned 36 this week? I was gonna say 32, but
that's right. 36 this week.
I was gonna take a guess and say 32. So you know what? Hey, listen, dude, you're just full of youth, man. I like it.
Yeah.
And so, dude, the environment that you had, that's amazing. And where was it that you grew up in?
I grew up in southern New Jersey.
Just
Just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I've never been to Philly.
We love Philly. We love the Eagles. We love the Sixers. And my grandparents, my great grandparents, came from all over. Obviously, great grandparents immigrated to the U.S. A part of my family lived on my mom's side, still lives in the deep South, in Biloxi, down around Jackson, Mississippi, which is cool. So. My family is a melting pot of different cultures and things like that. And so we're based in New Jersey and we just came out, finally 35 years later, I found myself now back out to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, dude. Well, Scottsdale's the place to be. I'm simply going to say that. Like, it's going to be like Florida, obviously, Texas, California, and now I think Arizona is one of the meccas of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
And
So critical, right? And one of the lessons that I've learned over these now 36 years is I've gone through different phases in my life, called different seasons in my life, and they're usually like 5-6 years at a time. And so I've just totally reinvented myself every 5-6 years to the point of being in a different career, a different city, all getting to this point where in the last year everything's really culminated in like where everything is just accelerating at tremendous pace. And I found myself here in Scottsdale with unbelievable people, an unbelievable network, like the Elliott Group, like yourself and Andy. But getting here took 35 years. And that's something that I want people to take out of this is, when I was 20, 25 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I would end up now. And that's okay. Because whether you're 10, 15, 20, 25 years old, you're getting experiences, you're building skills, right? And you're building new beliefs and a network that's going to take you to where you're ultimately going to go. And so you just have to be comfortable in the day-to-day of knowing that when you look back, now for me, 36 years later, on the last 36 years of my life, you can connect the dots. Steve Jobs did a famous talk about connecting dots, right? And you can go back and actually see, you know, how did some of these things, where did DJing, where did passing out flyers when I was 10 years old, where did working on Wall Street when I was 28 years old, where did all those things connect to get me to where I am now? And then now we're starting a new year in 2024, and I'm thinking, what does future Kevin look like, right? And so understanding future Kevin is, one, looking back into the past and seeing how I got here and accepting that past and embracing it and giving myself a story of why I am where I am. And then now looking out into the future of my personal life, my business life, where we're going to go, literally just dreaming that up, right? Like, what is the next 35, 36 years going to look like for Kevin, for my business, for my hotels, Hotel Accelerator? What does that look like? What does it look like in my relationships? And man, that's exciting. And I am in a place that I've never felt better, and amongst a group of people that have just continued to level me up, right, to where I want to go and the future me.
Dude, that's. I mean, if I had a bomb to drop, I'd drop the bomb, but I don't have my Brad Lee, Jacob. But no, I want to say this, man. You know, everything is important, from, you know, all of the hardships, all of the rock bottoms, all of, you know, the sometimes that we think the mindless jobs and the tasks that we've had. It's all important for the equation to be solved. Yeah. Which, no, like, I was talking to one of our guys down here, little Jake, because he's 14 and a super young kid.
Let's go.
I mean, he's in school. He comes up here to the office sometimes. Like, Jacqueline will just, you know, pay him a little bit of cash, you know, just to help out with some of the shipping, you know, some of the labels on the books. Because, dude, we ship out all of our books from here in location. Oh yeah. Like, we don't have
no third-party service.
Yeah, no third-party service. So like we do it all ourselves. And, you know, this is one of little Ian Elliott's really good friends. And he was like, hey, like, I want to be able to make some extra side money. And, you know, I was talking to him, and he was like, man, like, you know, it seems like adults have everything figured out.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that could be the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few people I've ever met in this world that have absolutely everything figured out. And I'm starting to realize that even those people, though, that they say they're just lying. Like, they don't have it figured out.
And, you know, I think in this country right now, we have a mental health crisis, and we have a lot of young folks that are struggling right now, and I know I found myself in this place, and I think it's that is amplified probably because of digital media, of social media.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? It's amplified to a whole nother level, because I don't know that our parents, they had a whole separate set of problems, right? And I feel for the youth right now, like late teens, the guys coming up in their 20s. Like, I get why it's so difficult, because particularly with social media, right? You see these people that maybe, you know, you see them doing cool things, or you look up to them, and you have to realize, you have to put it in perspective, right? That you don't know the full story. People are putting out only what they want you to see on social media, right?
Yes,
and I struggle with that, right? I struggled with that, especially in my 20s, late 20s, where I'm like, man, this guy's got it all, right? And then a few years later, some of these people, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah, they're flashing the pans.
Their lives have, either their business came crashing down, they're divorced, right? And
or worse,
right? And so having the frame of mind, this is a really important place to get into, especially as an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is lonely. People don't talk about that enough. It's very lonely.
Hell yeah, it is.
Right? And so you need to get into a frame of mind of being good with you. Being good with you and understanding the path that you're on, and that what you see other people doing, yeah, like, you find mentors. You find, like, Andy is a coach and a mentor to me. But, like, I'm not trying to be Andy. I'm just looking at Andy, and I'm talking to him and observing him, seeing what he has been most successful at, and what he has in his life that I would like to invite into mine, and finding how he got there, and using that to expand my beliefs, to think, okay, I can get there too. And I think you should only find, like, a few people like that. But everyone else, you know, you need to be really careful about comparing yourself to others, and who you follow on social media, and what you're absorbing into your brain, because social media ain't real.
No, social media is, I guess you would say, a social application that is picture perfect. And I mean, that's not reality. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like this, like on my like my Facebook and stuff like that, and then my Instagram, like I try to post some of the real stuff, like some of the real struggles that I have. Like
Yeah.
I'm 23. I turned 24 in July.
Yeah.
And dude, I said this on the last episode I did with Danny, and it was last year. I made more money last year than I did from 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17.
Yeah.
In 1 year, all of those years, I did more in that 1 year. And I'm gonna say this, dude. Like, it literally, like, it didn't change anything for me. It didn't make me any happier. It actually opened me up to more conversations of like, wow, like I did the thing where I've always wanted to do this, and okay, well, I was chasing something false.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, like, yes, you need to have a lot of money. You need to be able to provide the lifestyle that you want. But the one thing that I've always struggled with, and still to this day, I'll sometimes catch myself in this line of thinking, just to be real with everybody that's watching this, is I'm 23, but I feel like I'm behind. Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of the people that are my mentors are people that are 30, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, and they've had so much life in front of them. Like,
Yeah.
there's one thing to train to cut down the time frame of like how long it's going to take for your business to be able to become great, but also you have to look at the Andy Frisella stories. It took him 10 years to make 60 grand for First Form, and then after that, he started to blow up. But like, he had 10 years in the paint before he had any level of success. And so
Yeah.
sometimes, like, it's not about just training to get a new word track or a new skill or a new brand or a new whatever it is that's going to be that actual skill acquisition. Sometimes it's just you have to be in the paint a little bit longer.
You got to collect experience and context and contrast, right? And that's just done over time. Everyone's different. I mean, even look at you were mentioning Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I mean, he is like on top of like one of the top guys in social media world and marketing, and a guy that I look up to and follow. But like, he was in the wine industry, and just like I was in small business, and Gary Vaynerchuk didn't become Gary Vaynerchuk into his mid-30s. So like around where I am now. So when I feel like that, I go and I look at someone like Gary, because I have those feelings too. I still have them.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I go, shit, Kevin, get that out of your head. Look what Gary did. Gary started at mid-30s, and now he's like on top of the marketing world. So like that is a completely false belief, and just get it out of your head when that creeps in.
100%.
Right.
And the hard thing is it's to get it out in the first place, because dude, so like social media is one of those deals where it is like I've completely become desensitized to like certain things of like of money. And I'll say this, I was talking to my mom, like for a long while there, we didn't have like the best relationship, but it was really recently like that I reached back and I was like, you know what, like I'm glad that my mom did show up the way that she did, and like she did anything she could to take care of us, like even with all of the situations that were presented. I'm glad that I went through the struggle, because like I know exactly what I don't want by process of elimination.
It becomes part of your past.
And,
but your past, right? It's so interesting.
Everything.
Your past, just like you said, now you know what you don't want.
Oh yeah.
So it's the mistake a lot of people make is they look at that and they think, damn man, I had a bad past, and they use it to be a victim of their past. But you've reframed that now, and now you're doing better than you've ever done in your life, because you've reframed that in your head, and you're like, man, that was some messed up crap that I went through when I was younger, but look at that experience it gave me. Look at the context it gave me. You know what not to do.
Exactly.
And you can look at other people and say, well, other people, maybe they didn't have that past, but now they don't have that experience. They don't have that context.
And it's everything. And for me, I look at it like I'm glad that it happened, simply because like you have two options. You could either curl up in a ball, cover yourself up with the blanket of mediocrity, sit in a little padded room, have 3 nice cozy meals every single day, and live a normal life. Which, is there anything wrong with people choosing to live a normal, middle of the road ground life? No, there's nothing wrong with it. But I will say this, you're most likely not listening to personal development podcasts consistently if that's the life that you truly like are fulfilled with and want. You might be there now, but that's not to say that you're going to be there at a later time. But I looked at it like I have that decision, or I've got the decision to look at it like, hey, here's my silver lining. I know that unconsciously and consciously I can go through a lot of negative, go through a lot of pain, go through a lot of losses, go through a lot of failures, and still be all right. Like I say this on almost every episode. Like as long as I wake up in the morning, put my hands on my chest, and I go tap my chest. Well, guess what? What I just felt is the blessing from God today, which is that He put air in my chest, He made my heart beat, and the only thing that I need now, which is an opportunity, which I got the biggest one, which I got life and I got heartbeats to share.
You're alive and you can breathe.
That
right?
and that's the biggest blessing over everything. Like yes, like make a lot of money. Yes, have nice flashy things. Yes, if like I love it when I see guys like Wes Watson. I love because he broadens my thinking when it comes to like the way that he shows his life up. Which I mean, the guy's a little bit extreme, which I love it.
Yeah,
like I'm all about it. Extreme changes doesn't happen in normal environments, and for you to break out of the generational curses, you got to be a little bit extreme. But he made this post where he's in like a I forget what, I think it was like a Brabus G-Wagon. I mean, the guy's rocking a $500,000 Richard Mille, and he's like, hey, listen, like some people are gonna get upset at you for flexing. And he was like, the only people who are getting upset at you for flexing are those who are never going to want to see you do that in the first place. The ones that are like, hey, dude, nice watch. Hey, dude, nice whip. Like, those are the ones that, like, see it and go, oh, wait, a guy like that did 10 years in prison, can get out and go live this lifestyle. Okay, great. I can go do it too.
That's right.
And so there's living in evidence that you can have big lives.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not qualified. Like, I'm probably the least unqualified person here in the Elliott group. Like I'm one of the youngest guys in the group. Actually, I think am I the youngest guy, Fabio? I think so.
You gotta be one.
Well, no, because Matt's actually older than me. Okay, yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Like,
but it doesn't matter. But like, yeah, dude,
age is an age, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Dude,
but you started with Andy like a half decade ago, and so you've accelerated your learning path. Like I look where you are. Myself, being more than 10 years older, and I look at you and I'm like, damn, man, like you got around the right people, like, and you found that early. It took me another 5-10 years to figure that out. And so that's a blessing, that you found yourself in, to getting a part of the Elliott group and being with Andy. But breaking out, see, the middle is dangerous, man. Right. And I understand, and a lot of people listening to this are probably looking to try to break out of the middle, like you said. Right. And the middle is where I've got a lot of empathy for people, and I get it. And I was there too. And I grew up in that. And it's hard to get out of because the pain isn't great enough to inspire the amount of change that you need to make.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So sometimes you got to get kicked in the ass to really be able to get yourself to the next level. And sometimes that's what it takes. Now, I wish for people that they don't have to go through that pain, right? And that it's not necessary, and that they can find people that can show them a path, and people that get around the right people. But sometimes we just default back to what's easiest because we're just human. Right, our physiology, our psychology is at the end of the day, we're just animals, right? And survival. And so what is your brain gonna do? It's just gonna default back to what is safest. Mm-hmm. And for 95% of America, it is I'm okay in the middle because like I'm not down and I'm not bad, I'm not dying, but like, to get to the top is like requires a lot of risk and a complete change, and so that's why you don't get there. You gotta be sick in the head.
You have to be a little bit.
You have to do things where people look at you and they're like, "What the hell?
Why'd you do
that?
Like
you're great." Like how many times some of the friends I have back on the East Coast were like, "What are you doing? Like you're crazy."
Oh yeah, dude. You had, Philadelphia pretty close, South Jersey. Like that's I mean, I'm not saying it's like crazy entrepreneurship land, but where I grew up in high school was Clinton, Arkansas, a town of 1,700 people. And I'm going to say this. Like when I remember it almost exactly what it looked like. And so I got off the phone with Andy. I was still selling cars at the time, and then one of my boys, Travis Riley and Bryce Dodd, so they all had like an apartment together. They had like a little party, so I remember going to it, and I remember breaking the news to them and being like, hey, like I'm moving to Arizona. And at first I didn't even know what Arizona was. I thought it was like the movie Tombstone. Like I was gonna walk into a saloon with wooden buildings and shit. Like I was totally ignorant. But I told them, I was like, yeah, I'm going to Arizona to, work with Andy Elliott. They're like, what are you gonna be doing? I was like, I don't know. They're like, what are you getting paid? Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're like, I had no answers for nobody, and they all looked at me like wish you best of luck, bro. Like, okay, peace out.
Yeah.
And I still have massive love for those guys, and like they didn't understand.
Yeah.
And so, like with this, with where I've headed, like I've caught up with them a couple times in the past. And, they're all doing pretty good. I'm very proud of my friends. I'd say past friends, because I don't really talk to them that much.
Yeah.
At this point, I've got acquaintances, and then I got like family. And like family are people that I talk to on a pretty consistent basis. I want to be able to like share heartbeats in moments like this, because dude, you only get so many of them. But dude, it was one of those deals where I was young and I didn't even know. Like my mom was like, "What in the world's going on?" Like I didn't talk to her for a year and a half when I first got out to Arizona, because every single time it was just negative, negative, negative. She was telling me all the negatives in her life and telling me that this is dumb. And I was like, Mom, I can't talk to you until you change, or I decide to let you back into my life.
Yeah, or at least you get yourself, because I've dealt with this too, especially with close ones, or at least you get yourself to a point where you are so fortified mentally, where when you go back to your hometown, when you're around people that you might not speak the things that you want to hear, that you're so fortified mentally that you can understand why people are saying those things, but let them bounce off of you, and that's hard. It's taking years.
I think that's honestly some of the hardest things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the old Bradley story of like like when he's like, hey, I grew up I was homeless, and then you're like, oh man, that sucks, and he goes, it really didn't though. He goes, I was in San Diego on the beaches hanging out with chicks every day. Yeah. Does that sound pretty bad? And I'm like, actually that sounds pretty cool if we're to think about it. But it's all perspective, and it's what you make of the situation. Like you could be homeless, living on the beach in San Diego, talking to chicks all day, and be like, oh, I grew up homeless, and make it like some crazy sob story. You're going to be like, dude, like that was pretty cool. It's all perspective. And so,
or let's talk about the opposite, right? So like one on one end, yeah, you could be homeless, really, really down. Go to the other end, because this is what I lived. I worked my butt off to make it to Wall Street. I was an attorney at the highest levels, one of the world's largest law firms. And I was on Wall Street working for the top investment banks in the world, and as a finance attorney, and I did that for 3 years, and that was between getting into law school, going to law school, taking the bar exam, getting licensed, going to New York City, practicing there. That was like a 9-year season, start to finish, of my life. That was a lot of my 20s. Damn. And the psychotic thing is that I did is that when you get to that level, like you're making 6 figures, you're living the Wall Street life, and you think you've got it made. And I thought that was my ticket. I thought when I got there that I was set. And, 2.5 years in, I'm like, man, this isn't it.
What made you leave?
This isn't it. I looked at the mentors above me. We talked about people.
We're going to come back to this question. Don't let me forget this one, because I'm a big fan of like the whole Wall Street thing. Like normally, like when you see me, I'm in a suit, 3-piece French cuff. Like I look at it like what did Wall Street look like in the 90s, early 2000s, and like that's kind of the way that I dress. I like that little vibe. But like I've never had a chance to really talk to anybody who experienced Wall Street, and so like I want to know, and I guarantee some of the viewers, because like the only person we know from Wall Street is Jordan Belfort. You know what I mean? Like that's the only other person I know. Like, and we all know what happened with there. I mean, they made a movie about the guy. It's like I don't know anybody who did like any of like the non-extremes of that lifestyle. Yeah. Like, what was that actually like?
Well, interesting. One, you talking about how you love to wear the suits, right? And I would challenge you to think to yourself, why is it? Is it because that's what you think, like the creme de la creme, right?
I actually have an answer for this, and I've said it on the podcast before about why I wear a suit. So when I was a very young kid, we grew up super poor, and this is when my dad was still alive. I was going to go practice corporate litigation. That's what I was going to go to college for. which I ultimately didn't go to, so I can, go to the car business, make money, and take care of my mom because she couldn't afford, a mortgage and stuff like that. But I made a promise to my mom when I was a very young kid that I'd wear a suit and tie to work every single day. And so I always thought that it was going to be, me practicing corporate law.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's me being, salesman and a coach for Andy Elliott. So I kept my promise to my mom. And number two is I love the way I feel to myself personally when I wake up, put on a new suit. I have like that, like it's like a uniform.
Yeah.
Like when you go into the military, they give you a uniform. When you go to fight your wars, fight your battles, and everything that you do on a daily basis. When you play for a baseball team, you have your uniform. You put that on every single game. For me, my uniform is to make myself feel the absolute best because Deion Sanders, one thing that he said was like, when you look good, you feel good. Or like when you look good, you play good. When you play good, they pay good. When they pay good, you live a great life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like that's the way that I feel about it. But
so that's cool, right? So the suits to you have a significance of becoming a person that you've always wanted to become and to demonstrate something to yourself, right? But suits were the opposite for me. Because suits were not who I am. They're not authentic to my personality. I think Andy's the same way, right?
Oh yeah, dude. If you can get Andy in pants, I'll give you a fucking $1,000.
So
that guy wears straight shorts.
So that's what's cool here, right? So I got to the point when I moved to New York City, man. What we did every other week, we go to a custom suit shop. Man, I had a whole walk-in closet just full of all kinds of different suits because I always thought, man, I want to be a suit. That's like that. That's the rich people. That's the only rich people that I knew just from watching TV was like it's the suits on Wall Street.
Yeah.
But the whole time that wasn't who I was, right? And I realized that at some point. And so you asked me like, so what was that Wall Street like? Well, that's where I was 2.5 years in, and I'm looking at the people ahead of me, above me, my mentors. Yeah, they're making pretty good money. Maybe a couple $1 million a year. But when you go beyond the superficial, I realized a lot of them and what I was doing, man, that was a lifestyle that was not what was authentic to me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lifestyle of grinding. It's a lifestyle of your income is your time. Your time is your money. And that is a stressful way to live. And I was getting stress out of my mind. But the thing is like I said, we talked about I'm super ADHD, so like I go all in on what I'm in on. And so I was all in on my career and I was passionate about it. But the thing is like that just makes you work more and more and more. And you just learn how to work more. And then you just get more work. And then it's just this vicious cycle. And then what do you start doing? Then you start being like, well, now I need drugs.
Yeah,
now
I need vices to escape.
Now I need alcohol. Now I'm not getting out for 30 days at a time because I'm working on this deal for, like I worked on one deal for a month and a half, basically 6.5 days a week. And it was a massive deal. It was cool, right? And then at the end of it, man, we went out, we spent like a stupid amount of money and like got drunk and like went to the club and like all that. And that lasted like that dopamine hit lasted like 12 hours.
Yeah. And then it's back to,
and then it was like back to being miserable.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is like people's work, people's personal lifestyles, their relationships are super important. Okay. If you can find a woman in your life, like that, for me in the last year, that was one of the biggest unlocks is I found my person.
Yeah.
And after, relationship struggles for years and, having that context and contrast for 35 years, going through my own relationships, observing others' relationships, you look at them, and that's another thing that we talked about earlier is like you look at a relationship and that person's posting about their significant other like nonstop, like every week they're like, oh my God, we're so in love, oh my God, you're the best, blah blah blah. It's a lot of it's BS, and I've seen so many relationships fall apart because they are two individuals that are just working and doing their thing and superficially attracted to one another. But what is very inspiring about like what Andy and Jackie have done and other couples that I follow and look up to is they've found a way to create a common vision and support one another to to support that vision and to get to that life that they want to have together and for their family. And that's where I found Julia in the last year, where I was like, yeah, you're like, we're really aligned. And we've worked really hard for the last year to get coaching, we find couples that we look up to, right, to build that relationship life. And that's been a critical unlock because women have superpowers that dudes don't have.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm really good at like having visions about things and creating things, and inspiring our teams. But there's something about what women have and bring to a relationship that they know they can just read people. It's scary. Like within 30 seconds, Julia can know exactly like what someone's angle is, like what situation they're in, like if they're telling the truth, if they're authentic. And having that, as bolted on to what we have together is unreal. And so that's one area of relationships. I looked at people ahead of me on Wall Street, their relationships are crap. They're superficial. And that isn't something that's important to it is important to me. And that's something that it was going to be really hard to find that in that role. And so the hardest thing about Wall Street is we talked about people at the bottom. Well, if you're hurting that bad and you have nothing to lose, you can be super dangerous because you're at the bottom, you only have up. But what happens when you think you're at the top and it's not serving you? Because I have a lot of friends and there's a lot of people, you're at the you're going to be out of the, maybe you're at the upper middle, right? The upper middle, that's the most dangerous place because you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can go out, you can get these dopamine hits, going to the club and going to do flying on a jet or doing all these things or doing these cool deals, being in Wall Street Journal. But if that's not serving you, if the suits didn't serve me, I'm a sweatshirt guy. Like I spend my day in aloe sweats, and that's what I prefer, right? If that does not serve me, how the hell do I get out of that? Because I spent 6 years getting there, 6 years and over $250,000, in education to get there. And then I'm in it. I'm at the top of the game. And how do you think to yourself, man, this ain't for me? So that was probably the hardest decision that I had to make.
And so that's what led you to getting into the hospitality space, getting out of that? What was the line of thinking? So we went, okay, I'm getting out of this space. What was the line of thinking that led you to the next venture?
Yeah. So I've been in real estate since 2005. I went through the last cycle of 2007, 2008. It was with my dad. I mentioned that he likes side hustles. He's been an entrepreneur himself. And he just had a sales job and he defined for himself. And he's been my biggest fan and biggest supporter over the years, right? And he got our family from, he and my mom took our family from starting out dead, basically dead broke to middle class, upper middle class. But how do you get to the top, right? And in 2005, my dad and I were doing single family real estate together. He went out in the boom and bought a bunch of houses that are rental properties. And obviously 2007, 8, 9 happened and, everyone was underwater. And what I did at that time, and this is 18 years ago, is that was mid 2000s. And that was the forefront of the internet, believe it or not, taking over. And this is before Airbnb, but at that time, what I did to add value to our real estate is I got us into the digital commerce. So we built a website, which was huge. I mean, it's crazy to think now, in 2000, I was sitting in my friend's basement and we were debating whether to buy Banana Republic sweater on the internet because everyone was like, what the heck is this internet? And if I put my credit card into this website, what's going to happen? Is someone going to steal it? Am I actually going to get this thing? That was the state of affairs in 2000. And it's crazy to think that that's where we've come from in the last 23 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Nowadays you got Face ID, you got Apple Wallet.
Yeah, you don't even think about it. You just
payments.
double click your Apple Pay and you're putting your credit information through it. But 4 years later, ago, we were thinking can I put my credit card into this internet because I don't know where it's going and can I trust it? But in the mid 2000s, I built websites. I built I built, kind of some booking things and digital advertising and the gold rush at that time. So this is after the web domain crash of 2001. The next gold rush was Google ads and Google organic placement and Google paid placement. So we ran I would run Google ads and things like that to rent our houses. And so we built the most profitable rental business in our market with our portfolio of houses. And that was because we embraced digital media. But that was just a side hustle. I just did that for fun. And it kept my dad and I close, and we've had this business relationship for 20 years. And, but then it led me to, I was like, like I said, I saw the suits on Wall Street and I saw all that kind of stuff. I was like, well, that's like where you make it. And so I worked my butt off for 6 years to get into law school and to get to Wall Street. And then the hotel industry finally, after I found myself in a position where I was like, I have to get out of this. Back in that market where we did these single family houses for 15 years, a friend came to me and was like, hey, there's this motel, this guy, he's trying to get rid of it. He was in bad health. He was, lived 7 hours away. And it was a great location, right off the beach. But it was the worst property in the city by far. We're talking drugs, prostitutes. The whole building was a mess. It was a motel. The building was a complete mess, but it was off of one of the most desirable parts of the beach, which is crazy. Yeah. And so I had this crazy idea. I was like, cool. I was like, you know what? Let me see if he will sell me this hotel. And remember we talked about DJing, the things that fill me up, and I like impacting people's lives. And that's my intention for this year, by the way, 2024 my intention is influence, to impact other people's lives at scale, to show them how they can break free and to get to where we're going. Right. And so I saw this motel, and I was like, I love travel. I love hospitality. I want to touch people, because in Wall Street, you're completely removed from Main Street. It's Wall Street. You're doing big numbers. You're doing who can make more money and blah blah blah. But you're not looking at how can I fill other human beings heart with gratitude and with experiences that they may remember for a lifetime. And that's what I loved about hospitality. Obviously, I knew real estate from doing real estate finance on Wall Street and being in the single family rental market. And so I took a chance. When I left my job, I left a 6-figure salary and what a lot of people would consider one of the best careers. When I left that, I had no guarantee of what was going to happen. I just knew that there was this crap property and an owner that was willing to maybe give me a chance. And so when I left, I didn't have the building purchased. I didn't have a deal. I didn't have an income. A lot of people don't know this, but I was so crazy that the last month before I left my Wall Street job, I needed to save money, because I was like, I need to save living expenses for 1 year because I don't know what's going to happen. And so for me, that was $50,000. So I lived on my office floor and at my friend's girlfriend's apartment when they would let me come over. I slept on my office floor several days a week, and I slept in my friend's girlfriend's parents' spare bedroom. And I did that for a month to make sure I had $50,000 saved up just to pay my living expenses for the next year, because I didn't know what was going to happen. So we talk about you got to be a little psycho.
A little bit.
Psycho is doing the things that most people just won't do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not doing your best. It's doing what's required.
What's required. And what was required in that moment is I knew I was not going to move home to my parents. I wanted to start a company, and I wasn't going to depend on anybody but betting on myself. And so I knew I needed to have some capital. So I was willing to, it turns out that all those suits that I bought, when you put them in a suit bag, it's dual purpose. You can put a fresh suit on in the morning, you can fold it over, and it makes an incredible pillow at night. And I did that for a month. And most people don't know that, right? that was transitioning seasons of my life, version 1 into the hotel industry.
No kidding.
And by the way, I just sold that property in the last 30 days. And that property, that was prostitutes and drugs and was the worst property on the block. And no one wanted to touch it, which is the only reason I had an into it. Just made us multiple millions of dollars.
Would you mind sharing? Because I know a lot of people, like Patrick Bet David, be like, oh, it's, south of 300 million, north of 200. Like when he talks about when he sold out of PHP. Yeah. But like, if you don't, you don't have to. Would you mind 100%. Telling what the buyout was?
Yeah, absolutely. So I bought that property 6 years ago when I transitioned.
For how much?
I had no money to buy it.
How much did you buy it for?
I bought it for $765,000. It was a steal because no one was buying motels at that time.
Yeah.
Everyone's buying motels right now. But I was ahead because I had this vision for what motels could become. So I bought it for $765,000. I had no money, so I had to drive 7 hours down to the seller and meet with him and his family and convince them to sell it to me with 100% financing. And then I needed money to clear out this building because you can only imagine what was inside this building.
Yeah, you don't want to take a black light to that.
But I've never done a hotel before, and so I'm not comfortable. One, no one's going to give me money because I don't have any track record in hospitality. Two, I'm not comfortable taking people's money because I wasn't 100% sold on myself just yet. But I was very convicted to do this. And so I was able to buy that building with zero cash, but I had a credit card. And the credit card, I had a $100,000 credit line. And so let's talk about getting psycho again. Getting psycho was, okay, I got to turn this building around. I got to turn this motel around. I've got a $100,000 credit line. So let me tap that credit line and see how I can turn this place around and generate as much revenue as quickly as possible and then pay the credit line. And I was like, worst case scenario, right? What's the worst? And I love this inversion thinking of like, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is like,
default on it.
I default on that, declare bankruptcy, and then I just start over. But like I was already kind of starting over anyway, so who cared?
Yeah.
And if I had like bankruptcy, see, I already built these relationships and skills as a lawyer. So like really the worst that could happen is I go bankrupt and then I just go back to being a lawyer and I would do fine. Like I'm sure people would take it back.
Yeah.
So like we build up these stories in our head of like when we want to take these risks, like, oh my God, I got to worry about this and this and that and this person and that person and my money and like, and the reality is like we tell ourselves these stories.
I wanted to stick on that. Most of the time, there's not any real world crazy consequences. It's more that we care too much about the opinions of others, and that's what stops us from taking a risk.
And that held me back for years. And it wasn't strong enough to hold me back from doing this, but the opinion of others is one of the hardest subconscious beliefs to eradicate from your brain. And for me, it really took intentional thinking about that intentionally to wipe that from my brain. And let me tell you, when that is one of those programmings in your mind that when you can no longer give a crap what anyone thinks, including your significant other, your parents, people closest to you, when you can let that go, like truly let that go.
Oh, game changer.
Game changer. Complete game changer. Right? There's so much that it's like it unlocks a Pandora's box and like all of a sudden you see like all this opportunity that you have in front of you. But the thing is that letting that go, especially like the parent one.
Oh, yeah, tough one to crack.
That's hard. Yeah, that's really hard.
That's a tough safe to crack.
But I knew enough, right, where I was saying when I was making this transition, when I got this first property, I knew enough that I was like, I'm not going to go live at home because I was like, I don't want those behaviors and beliefs spoken into me. Yeah. And so that was one, at least at the beginning, the convictions I had is like, I need to go be an independent person and not default to just going back to the most safe environment. I need to create a new environment for myself. So when I bought this property, zero money down, $100,000 credit line, and I'm thinking, what's the worst that could happen? And you know, the worst that could happen is, you're fine, right? You're fine. As long as, like we talked about earlier, as long as you're not going to die, you're going to wake up the next morning, you're breathing, then
You're good.
then you're fine. You can recreate yourself a million times over. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to take this risk. They, eventually agreed to it. By the way, I had to call this guy for a year and a half, like once a week for a year and a half, because half the time he wouldn't pick up, half the time, we couldn't like get anywhere. So like this took forever, but I was just convicted in doing this by myself and like doing this myself, improving it and going from there. So bought that for $765,000. We ended up, the cash that we ended up putting into it, we ended up making what's called a 30% IRR. Basically, we made a 30% return on the money that we did put into it over the last 6 years. All told, we made about $3 million profit. And so I was able to, we did great cash flow. We became, that property was the crappiest property in the market. It became the highest grossing property, the highest ADR, which average daily room nights. We were selling our rooms for up to 3 times. We were making on our rooms up to 3 times what all of our competitors were making at their properties.
That's
so we went from very seedy operation to a boutique lifestyle,
crack house to penthouse.
very luxury operation. Okay, when I bought it, the building was doing at best $80 a night. We now average on that building, it was averaging around $500 a night.
Damn.
So that was a game changer for me, is going through that process and how we can completely recreate a building. Interesting, recreate over the last 6 years, 1 buildings, which is so cool, right? Take that from, we ended up selling that building for over $4 million. Recreating a building, creating an experience, having that vision, man, that's cool. What's the other thing that I had to do in those 6 years? Is recreate myself. And right, so I had that transition from making it from Wall Street to starting hotel company. We bought another hotel a couple years ago, and now we're working with a bunch of hotels. We're buying a bunch more hotels this year, and we'll talk about that. But the last 6 years was the next season, right? I had a 9-year season, which was integrated in law and Wall Street. And the last 6-year season for me was building a hotel company, excellence in building teams and staff, excellence in building brands, excellence in renovating and acquiring these motels. So we've done a couple now on our own, and I had to learn all that, and along with that is I had to learn how to go from having the mindset I had when I left my law job, which was like, I'll call it a middle-class mindset, but trading time for money, not trusting other people, not knowing how to delegate and build teams, right? Having all these limiting beliefs within my head. The last 6 years was about not only recreating motels and creating this awesome hotel business that we now have and employing over a dozen people, but recreating myself. Because what I've learned in the last 6 years is that the number one style of leadership is not leading others. It's your self-leadership. It's the me leadership. And that is the hardest nut to crack, I think, for most people.
100%.
Right.
100%.
And so that's the journey that I took, and it was really tough. I talk about entrepreneurs very lonely, taking a seedy motel, now multiple motels, and making them to high-end boutique operations that are the best in class. That was hard. And when I started the hotel company for the first few years, I didn't know how to seek out help. I didn't know how to seek out mentors or seek out coaches. See, because when you're in that middle-class mindset, when you have a job, everything's very easy. So see, when we're programmed as kids, we're programmed how to conform to a system, and we're programmed how to follow a plan. And it's very linear, right? You go to school, you go K through 12, You know, you have a little progression each year. They tell you exactly what to do. And then when you're in 11th grade, then you go through this application process and you have your deadlines and you have your cute little things that you got to do and get your recommendations and
Yeah, you take
all
your
this fun
ACT,
stuff.
SATs,
You take your SATs,
apply to colleges.
see how smart you are, right?
Yeah, see how well you got book learning.
And now we're going to college. Wow, okay, and doing 4 years in college. Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's
Which, by the way, like school,
it's necessary for some things. It's unnecessary for a lot.
100%. And you know, I knew who I was in school because you could just, you know, you could look at the output of what I did in school, which was, my brain is so hyper focused ADD that it's both my downfall, but also my greatest strength.
Hell yeah.
By far my greatest strength. And some people can see that and look back. See, I was never properly diagnosed, like having this hyper-focus ADHD. I was never properly diagnosed, and so I was never given Adderall or anything, and I just had to, like, over these years, find ways to basically self-medicate, and now, like, I have in the last year and a half, I put a 100% focus, number one focus in my life the last year and a half was mind and body. Because if you don't have that, you don't have the energy to pour into others and to build a massive impact in organization. And so what we realized is I had this opportunity now with exiting one of my properties, and kind of going through into the next season of my life. I look back and I was like, you know, where is what I needed never existed. So I told you it was very lonely in the beginning, and I had to just figure stuff out. I didn't have any coaches. I didn't have any mentors. And so I'm not going to lie to you. It was very difficult mentally, physically. It led me into, like I said, a year and a half ago, I was not in good health. I was not in a good place, even though we were successful with what we're doing on the hotel side, just because I was forcing everything. And so I was like, you know, if I did it again, if I'm doing, you know, another property, and we're developing a bunch of properties right now, and like, if I did it over again, like, what did I need? And I needed someone to coach me. I needed someone who had, like, systems ready to go and that understood how you can buy a piece of real estate, and transform it fundamentally, operationally, branding, build a team. Okay, there's a lot of things that go into this. That you don't know starting out. And so coming from, you know, that linear path, coming from being a lawyer, you know, I might be talented, I might work hard, but man, it's still like this grind, and it shouldn't always feel like a grind. You want to get to a point where it feels fluid, where it's like things are just, you know, you're just moving and like you're excited to get up in the morning, like things start clicking. And that feeling like when you get there, like you just know, right? And that's where like I am now. And but I'm like, how there's a lot of other people that are doing this. Like I said, motels and hotels and hospitality has become very popular in the last few years for good reason. There's massive opportunity in the space right now. And so I was looking at that. I was like, you know, like who helps hoteliers, who helps marketers in hotel space, general managers, like be successful, how to self-develop, how to develop their teams, how to develop a brand, how to, like I said, my focus is always, since 2005, was always on e-commerce and how to really embrace the digital environment to sell, right? Because hotels fundamentally, in my view, are almost like e-commerce businesses with a in-person product delivery, right? Because you're selling your rooms, they're basically high ticket, and you're selling them 98% of them are sold on the web, right? And so how do you create digital leads and nurture those and create them into digital sales, and then deliver on the back end with an incredible experience and incredible team? And what I found is just like no one does that. And we felt that there's a huge need for that. And we, like I said, my intention for 2024 as a human is influence and impact. And so I wanted to take all the lessons that I've learned and all these things that we've talked about, the ways that I've self-developed, the ways I've developed an organization, a brand, a culture. I was able, you know, to become financially wealthy for myself and also for my family. How do we help others do that? And so what we did was we created Hotel Accelerator, and we're doing some really cool stuff in the hospitality space, because we're coming in and see the problem in the space is a lot of agencies will just take little pieces, right? They'll do social media, or they'll do like your branding. But it's all segmented and it all sits in different buckets, and it doesn't work together. And what's critical that we found in a hotel space, that your sales and your marketing are all digital, and then it's into the physical space. And so you need to connect everything from your digital presence when someone first finds out about you, to the booking and then coming in and then being serviced by your team and by your space. How do you connect all of those things? And then how do you grow it? Because you need a leader, you need a general manager or an owner that is hands-on, that knows how to build a team, self-develop, to develop their team. And so all those things are tied together, but everything was so segmented in the industry. And so what we're doing is we're helping first-time hoteliers or hoteliers that have independent hotels that need to level up to the next level. We're helping them tie together their brand identity, their culture, and helping them develop and level up to the next level. So for us, what we come in and do for a lot of our clients, so we're completely recreating some hotels right now for our clients. We're doing new hotels for some of our clients. And we're helping them do is, one, create a brand and a cultural identity, because that permeates everything from start to finish. So we help them build that identity in the physical space, their hotel, and in the digital space where they go out to the world and bring in their ideal customer and sell. So we help them build that identity. Then we help them take that identity and let it permeate throughout their organization. So we coach the leaders and the owners and their team on how to more efficiently operate and be effective in their operations, how they grow together, how they use technology. We coach them, and we do coaching calls with them. We go on site, and we help them really flesh out their systems and get really efficient and really targeted. Okay, and then thirdly, once we have that back end, once we have the organization set, and everyone knows the role and the places, and it's all structured properly, then we can throw accelerant on it. And then we go and we use digital media, especially social media right now, meta platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We help them throw gasoline onto their sales through digital marketing, paid advertising, influencer engagement, the whole stack. Meta search in the hotel industry is big. Organic search, right? There's all these different levers that we can pull. So we help them tie that all together and throw accelerant onto their business and watch their businesses just blow up.
That's freaking crazy. I love it. And so for right now, it's independent hotel owners.
Independent hotels, right?
It's not like the Hiltons or anything, or like
no. And there's a lot for them to learn. See, the problem in the hotel industry is that the franchises really took over the last 20, 30 years, because they're selling systems, and they're selling a brand. But what's happened in the last 5-10 years? COVID, one. Two, social media is just huge. And you used to be dependent on large franchise budgets to be able to buy you ads, be able to get you awareness, to give you technology. But where has everything gone in the last 10 years? Well, now technology is now all cloud-based. You don't need giant servers. You don't need these big bulky, believe it or not, like hotels used to have these like server rooms, and like everything was hardwired, and like all your data and your reservation stuff, it was all, all built in on the property. Our properties, everything is in the cloud. I can do whatever I need to do from my phone, from my computer. I could be at the property. I could be halfway across the world. It doesn't matter. So technology has changed, one, and it's easier, it's lighter, and it's more scalable for small hotels. Two, how you market has changed. How you get attention from the market has changed, right? So 10, 20 years, 30 years ago, you had to maybe have a big marketing budget, the big networks, right? Yeah, the networks really controlled things. And if you wanted attention, it was expensive, or you had to be like really good at like direct response and like all that kind of stuff, right? Send out, mailers, like all this kind of stuff. But now what social media and the internet has done, and especially in the hospitality industry, is it has completely democratized the ability to get attention. And now you and I can get attention just as efficiently as Marriott or Hilton. We just might have to be a little more creative, but like we know the platforms and we know how to get eyeballs. And so the question is, how do I just go and sell myself One, get attention on social media, and then two, convert those sales through some sort of sales funnel.
So what's stopping some hotel owner who's like an independent owner from, instead of reaching out to you, he's doing fucking TikTok dances in the fucking hotel lobby, drinking espressos and stuff.
Yeah.
Like what's stopping him from being like getting the professional and being like, oh, I just need TikTok views, and he's doing like some stupid little dance, like
Doing it himself versus working with us? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, exactly. So that's what I did. And it took me years, a lot of money, a lot of messing around, a lot of hiring, firing, a lot of headache, heartache, grief, financial resources. It took me that to get our hotels to where they are now, where they perform now, and being able to exit them, etc. So if you want to do it yourself, totally cool. Like, go for it. And that's what I did. But the thing is what I've learned is that you don't have to do that, right? You can work with a group that has already done those things and has built systems and that has coaching to complement it, so they can accelerate you from 0 to 100 10 times quicker than you could do it on yourself. And sometimes those are the investments that folks have trouble making, because these are big dollar investments, especially when you're starting a business. If you're just transitioning careers like I did, the thought of spending money like on yourself and your organization is terrifying.
But I mean, it's kind of like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had a pretty good team when they had it, and then next thing you know, they had to pay up a little bit of coin for that boy Tom Brady and Gronk, and look at that, first year Super Bowl, just like that.
That's right.
It was all there. You were just missing a couple of pieces. And
you're just missing the pieces.
For the hotels that are out there that aren't really crushing it at the level that they know they could be, you're that missing piece for them.
We're the missing piece that they can bring in and help blow up their business and accelerate their business, and that's why we call it Hotel Accelerator. And so the biggest thing that owners and operators need to do is just become self-aware and realize that it's okay to go out and to ask for help and to bring some in. See, like we don't call ourselves an agency, because we don't come in as just like an independent team and just like feed you, or like consultants, right? Like we don't just feed you. We don't just feed stuff to you and you'd be like, here, take this, go do it. Like, we're your partners, right? We're your growth partners to see you succeed, whether you're buying your first hotel or whether you're just leveling up the hotel that you have now.
So are they buying your coaching, or are they selling part of their company to you?
No, they don't have to sell part of their company. All they have to do is make the financial investment, which, by the way, like, we tell people, look, when you make the financial investment, we're going to make you multiples of that investment over through what you're going to get through our sales. And the hesitancy to make that investment is really is not because they don't realize that we can help them. The biggest roadblock that they have mentally, right, into doing that is because you have to bet on yourself. And if you're not willing to make that investment for what we can do for your property, it's only because you have a limiting belief of, like, you're not going to make the investment because you're not sure if you want to invest into yourself and your business. But see, once you break through that and you realize, okay, like, let's do this, right?
That's the game changer.
That's the game changer. And, and that's happened over and over again for me. And the thing that I learned, because now I spend a lot of money and time and resources self-developing and bringing in people that are ahead of me in different areas to understand and learn from them. Once you do that you can, you realize how much easier it can be for you. And so, traditionally, our industry, hoteliers, haven't had a resource like that, and so that's what we're doing for them now. And like some of our clients right now, it's like unbelievable the transformations that we're helping them go through. Like one client we have now, they're buying their first hotel, and they've been spinning their wheels for a year trying to buy their first hotel. They could not figure it out. They were stumbling. They couldn't get a deal done, couldn't get financing, couldn't underwrite it, just basic stuff. They couldn't get off the ground. We came in within the first 3 months. We found their first deal. We helped them get the financing. We helped them put a plan together, and they're going to be opening that hotel in the next few months, and it's going to be incredible.
So I have a question, because there's a lot of people on the podcast that, I mean, they make substantial money. Like, I'm talking like they can do whatever they want. let's say somebody wants to just be like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to buy some hotels. I want to have you run them, manage them, flip them, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want to be silent in the deal.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can help them with?
Yeah. So we own our own hotels. We own and operate. We have our own management company, and we're continuing to do deals ourselves because here's the difference between an agency consultant and us. We actually do for ourselves what we do for our clients
Every single day.
every day.
And that's why I freaking love you, dude.
Right? And so we're just not talk is cheap.
100%.
And there's a lot of people out there talking, and they might sound good on TikTok, or they might, sound, they might tell you like, oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Okay. Well,
Dude,
I don't want to
that's
hear
it.
should. I don't hear maybe. I want to show you what we've done and show you the undeniable proof of the things that we've done, and then be able to say, okay, what if we did this for you? And so, yeah, so if an investor is listening and they're like, we want to get into the hospitality space, we want to acquire a deal, do that, we do that. And we have partners and we do that. So because we continue to do for ourselves what we do for others. We wouldn't tell someone to do something if we hadn't already seen that it worked. And that's the value in having us on your team, because we're seeing how things work across a portfolio of properties across the country. And so
you've got great data.
We have data, we have context of what works, what doesn't work, how we can be super efficient. Because if you're a small hotel, you just don't have a big marketing budget.
Yeah,
you don't have Marriott's multi-million dollar marketing budget. But we beat them
you ain't
every
the
time.
Dog.
But why are we so much more effective than the Marriott properties around us? And it's no knock against them. I love them, but like,
no, we're knocking Marriott.
It's because sometimes when you have less resources, you just got to be a little more resourceful.
Exactly.
And for
100%.
us, that's how do we get the cheapest clicks on the internet? How do we convert sales to our hotel? How do we renovate a hotel efficiently and not with a limited budget? These are problems that we have solved for ourselves and that we solve for our clients. And it's a game changer to be able to bring us in and do that with you.
Dude, that's freaking great. Well, dude, number one, I want to say this. I really appreciate, this. How long we've been rolling? Almost an hour and 20 minutes. And dude, this has been great. Being able to dive a little bit deeper into number one, you, but also, at the expand, like how fast. Because you've been in the brotherhood for almost 2 months. No.
Yeah, 2 months.
2 months now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say we're coming up on 2 months. I think on the 14th, if I'm not mistaken, is 2 months from the moment that we actually 100% were all the way in.
Yeah.
And dude, just watching how fast you guys have grown in just that time frame has been ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I want to say this from the bottom of my heart, because I know not enough, especially men in this space, who are alpha males running hard, really dominating life. Like, you don't hear this enough. Like, but dude, I'm proud of you. Like,
Thank you,
I'm
brother.
freaking damn proud of you.
Thank you. We're just getting started, brother.
The pot hasn't been put on the stove for it to be warmed up yet. Like, you guys are just preparing the kitchen to cook, okay? Like, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm super freaking proud of you. Like, from leaving everything in Wall Street, from when you were a kid, man, just where you're at now. I know one thing for damn certain, like, younger self, like, I know that you're making that guy proud, because one day he looked up, was like, I want to be somebody special when I grow up, and I hope you're looking back and you're realizing that you're making your younger self proud of who you are today, dude, because I'm damn proud of you. You're doing an amazing job, and so I just wanted to be able to give you your flowers, because most of the time, a lot of men and women only get their flowers when they're laying them on the casket.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right, and I appreciate that one, and we're thrilled to be a part of the Brotherhood and be a part of the Elliott Group. As you know, we're here. We're basically here every week.
You're here all the time.
And it's we've gotten the return on our investment, tenfold from what we've done so far. And a lot about it is, we talked about making an investment in yourself. For us, for me, it was we made a large investment with the Elliott Group, and it was because we believe in ourselves, we believe in our mission and our organization, and we believe that the Elliott Group was a group that could take us to the next level. And so we're really happy to be a part of that and the network that it has provided us. And at the end of the day, we are here. See, even if folks that are listening aren't in the hotel industry, so I think what you can take away is like all the personal stories and how to break through, because there's a lot of people right now that are just trying to break through and get out of the middle and to take the actions that they need to take or that they've been putting off for years. And so if I can, leave one thing, it's that to get to the next level, sometimes it becomes, bucking the trend. It becomes going off the path, the beaten path, the linear path that was set out in front of you. It takes becoming a little bit psycho, and it takes investing in yourself. And when you can do those things and when you can take action towards those things, not just think about them, not just journal them, but actually take the action you can take today to move yourself forward, whether that's just taking your body and your mind and getting that into shape first, whether it's, making a move that you need to make, having a conversation you need to make, hiring an employee you need to hire, firing an employee that you need to hire, whatever that is in your life, take that action now. And then you can look back, like I've looked back over the last 36 years to where we are now and how we've built this. And you can see where those things connected, and you can know that anyone can do it. If you can do it, if I can do it, if Andy can do it, anyone can do it. It's there. It just takes taking action today.
That's it, man. And so I appreciate you, dude. Real quick before we wrap this up, where can everybody find you on Instagram and reach out to you to maybe talk about getting some consults?
Yeah, you can get through to us, to myself on Instagram at Kevin Reardon. You can also go to our website, www.hotelacell.com.
We'll put all of that into the description as well, and we'll put it across the screen, so I'll make sure Aiden gets that taken care of. But, dude, I really appreciate you, man. Like, this is a great episode, great message. Like, I truly appreciate it. And so, I mean, we're just going to end it off on that, guys. Number one, shoot him a follow, the Young Closer Squad. Hit him up in the DMs, say that, you watched the episode. Obviously, that'd mean the whole lot of world from me, from Andy, from the entire media team, knowing that his social media, his website gets blown up, because obviously we put a lot of work into the podcast, into the content, into growing the business, making sure that we're consulting and helping people and actually getting real people with real results. Like, that's what matters most to every single one of us here. So go reach out to him, hit him up in the DMs, shoot him if you're watching this episode on Spotify, Apple, or on YouTube, man, just take a little screenshot, put it on your story, tag him, tag me, tag Andy. We'll all share it to our stories, and we're just going to get activated, man. And so make sure you follow me on Instagram at The Real Young Closer. Guys, if you have any questions at all about the podcast, about anything of the coaching, the consulting with Andy, shoot me a text. It's to my personal number right here. I'm going to give that out. It's 501-504-4835. That's my personal cell phone, guys, and the way you're going to know it's personal is because when you text it, the text message is going to show up blue. And so I'm not going to use no CRM number. I'm not going to use, a second bat phone. Like, I've got one phone. I'm not Kevin Gates. I just got the life phone. And so shoot me a text. Let me know what we can do to help you guys win, succeed, scale, and just dominate. And so I appreciate you guys for listening to the episode. If you made it this far, dude, that just shows how bad you want to win. And so now's the time to go do what we all say is now it's the time to execute, take action, and go continue to be that person that's going to take to live the life that you want. It's not how, it's who. And so, love you guys. Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Hey. Keep kicking ass.
Let's go.
Y'all be good. Y'all be blessed.
I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tinted. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash, and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5.